So we're going to improve our PowerShell we created on Wednesday that imported the users. It worked pretty well. But if you run it a second time, it doesn't work so well. And if you're in a position where that you need to input new users daily, and you keep getting this huge list, and you don't know out of lists of like 4,000 or 5,000 users, which one's new, which one's not, you can run into this problem when we hit play. Lots of red. Not necessarily terrible. The specified account already exists. It's just that when it does create a user, probably, especially when they're huge lists and stuff, like here on our campus, inputting users, or just think of Jonesboro, they got a lot more students than we have. You wouldn't want the server, the processing here, to have to process the error code for every user that already exists. That can take some extra time, and we also don't see a count how many users were created in the script. Let me go ahead and connect here full screen. It'll look a little bit better. Look at how we can improve. Not going to go, make a perfect script. Probably not any perfect script. There's always some other coder is going to look at it and go, hey, well, we could add this to it. There's some code where you can catch exceptions and other stuff. Now, what I want to do is, yes, go ahead and do an if statement. Let's see where I put the if statement. I'm going to need to do it in my for each. I'm not going to need to do it up here. You can also clear host, not history. Clear host is always good to have. That's at least one improvement. It makes things look pretty. What I need to do is, if the user exists, do not try to recreate. That's what I need to do. So the structure of an if statement would be like, if something. And in our case, we haven't figured out where, but let's go ahead and put, squiggly, if true, else. Do something else. You do what? Normally don't like that. And if else, I like to switch into like a case or switch. They call it switch here. Some other coding languages call it a case, where you have multiple options. It works better. We may design one of those at some point in time, but right now we're not looking at more than just one. Look at one thing. Does the user exist? That's all we want to know. Let's look at some code. If we did a get dash 80 user, dash identity. And we do John Doe. And I'll run just that. I get it. An output. If I look for Jane Doe, I get an error. This is one of the commands that error action silently continue. We haven't talked about error action. I briefly mentioned it a couple days ago, but because Active Directory is this commandlet is running on the domain controller, and the error is not actually coming from the commandlet, it's coming from the server. And the error action silently continue that works on a lot of scripts and wouldn't show any output right here and would just return false. It doesn't do that on Active Directory connections. And this is a commandlet that does an Active Directory connection. So that's not cool. Right. Yes, you are correct. We're going to use some SQL. Anyway, some knowledge out of SQL, the comparative operators and things. Let's go ahead and just get, we're importing employees. How about let's get the Active Directory users. Filter. Everything. And let's not do that but one time, because we don't want to do that in the loop and get all of the users, because if there's thousands of them, we don't want to get that for possibly thousands of people in the CSV file. That would really bog down some stuff. So let's move that up here. And let's go ahead and select and run that command. No, just highlight it in F8. We just grabbed all the Active Directory users. We also grabbed everything in the CSV file. That's recorded into RAM. Because I don't want to play this whole script. I want to test small pieces at a time. So now I've got those in RAM. They're going to stay there until we log out, log back into the computer, close out PowerShell ISC and reopen it. It's going to be in there. what I want to test, if the item .sam account name, which will be one thing. Let me go ahead and execute just that right there. Run selection, one thing. Is it in a list? Is that one name found in $USR dot? Should be SAM account name again. If I run just the user.sam account name, I have a listing of all the user accounts in Active Directory. So I'll create my if statement. If this is found in Active Directory, basically, what do I want to do? Well, let's check right host. Found. Right host. Not found. I know it exists. I know MJ whatever exists. It's in the list. We created it. So what I'm doing now, I know it exists. I want to test this if statement to see if I get here. And then I want to delete that user and see if I get here. So let's highlight this if statement and go ahead and execute the if statement. What is the output? I have found. Is the last thing returned. So to test out the other way, if I go to Active Directory and I go ahead and wipe out, I don't know which one it is. I'm gonna wipe them all out. It's lab. You wouldn't do this in production, but you can do it in test environment. Let's go ahead and delete them all. On one. And if I retrieve the list again up here, I have to re-execute this get command to repopulate USR, because when I rerun this, the username should be much shorter now. I've only got administrator guest John Doe. Now I can test it out because this here still should have that MJ6224 in it. But MJ6224 is not in my list right here anymore. So I deleted all the accounts and I re-highlighted and run step 4. I retrieved the Active Directory users after I deleted them. That was a step that if you forgot, it would have still went, hey, found, and you'd been scratching your head. Why is this not working when it actually was? Let's make sure we get not found. If I highlight the if statement and run, I should get a not found at the bottom of the screen. You got found. Are you sure you highlighted 4 and run it again by itself after you deleted the users? Hit F5, just make sure they're not actually there on the keyboard. Go and hit select line 4. Oh, I see. You spelled it user. Get rid of that Yeah, USR. Now highlight line 4 and run it again. And then run your if statement. Should come not found. There we go. Why would it not users under new? I'm glad it didn't let you delete those. You would have broke your system and probably had to reinstall. So you'll have to rerun line 3. And then rerun this statement. It should be not found. Is everybody getting not found now? This is one possible method. There's other methods.
So we deleted?
Yes. We deleted them all. Now when we test, we verified that not found. We want to make sure our if statement's working. It shouldn't be there.
Well, in my Active Directory, it's not okay.
It should have been gone.
I'm getting that down.
Did you accidentally like hit F5 and recreate them all instead of F8 in the middle of all this? Go back to your code. Let's check your code, just make sure.
Where's my code? I'll look here. I'll do this.
So highlight that and run it. And highlight that and run it. You've got not found. Go back to your code. I want you to highlight that usr.sam. You got too many M's. There's nothing in there if you run that. Now rerun that section.
Oh, I clicked F5.
Now you got not found. Right? No, you should have found. Did you have found? Not found. But they're still in there, right? Did you not delete them? So they're in there. Go back to your code. There's something. Yours is highlight that usr.sam account name and run just it. That is not the SAM account name. So scroll down to where you created the users. And let's look at SAM account name. And you applied the surname to the SAM account name there on line 30. So that's why it's not matching up, because the login name is not what's supposed to be 1M. So you need to delete all of the users now. Control A and then delete. I would just hit F5 and run all of it, because not found was good. It was. Now go ahead and see if they're back. I'd click on it and hit F5. Yeah. Okay, cool. So now they're back. Now go check. Highlight 7 through 13. and run it.
Right.
Yep. Found. Cool. Now go delete all the users. Yep. And then go back to your code and run the same thing again. Not found. Fixed now. This is why virtual machines are great to do. You can create your own domain that mimics your corporate domain, create all the same organizational units and stuff. And you can run these tests and add and delete accounts without them actually affecting real users. Or in our case, for training, trying to get this built out, and then you could move it over to a real system. And this if statement's not really, fully functioning yet, because what I want to do is I want all of this code right here to not run if a user already exists. I don't need to convert password to a secure string. That's pretty CPU intensive. I mean, it's short, it doesn't take long, but when you got 10,000 plus, larger places, that's going to take more wattage, more electricity, more cooling. Nothing's totally 100% free. I mean, it might be fractions of a penny, but still, that adds up if it's run continuously every 4 hours of every day, 365 days a year for 20 years. So be mindful of everything. So how do I get all of this code to not run? If it's found, this right here would not run. So not found means I need to create it. That means all that code needs to be right here where this right host is. It's pretty easy. I don't need to copy and paste. I just need to delete this line right here, line 13. And I need to cut this bracket, that last bracket right there that's under that right host. I need to cut it and bring this up a little bit. I need to go down here to the last line right under this path. And I need to go ahead and paste. That's where I want it to stop. So our code's been improved. We grabbed all the people in the CSV file. We grabbed all of the users in Active Directory at the last of the, right after the dash path. So if we find a user, we're going to write host found. So let's go ahead and F5 the thing, play. Clear the screen. I got a blinky cursor. Sweet. Now I got a prompt. Now, if we get into larger companies, that could take a while. This is only 100 users on a test machine with no other load on the system. Are my users there? My users are there. They still have the correct ones that are disabled. The other ones are enabled. No problems. But now if I hit F5 again, I have a bunch of founds. I didn't tax my Active Directory server too bad. I read in from the hard disk the text file. I don't know how many users you got. Step 4 could take a little bit. Pull all the usernames into the RAM. So that taxed the Active Directory server one time. And then I went down here to the for each And I started in my if statement. That right there is running on whatever host this script file is on. Could be a Windows 10 machine or a member server somewhere. And it's testing all this stuff. And it's finding each user account in the list that's in Active Directory. And it found them. And we're not touching Active Directory anymore. This is all done local on the local processor running this.
Is there a way to turn that into one sound?
So Keaton wants a counter. He would like to see how many total accounts, pre-existing accounts, new accounts created. Probably what he's wanting.
Found X. Boom.
He wants to improve it beyond what I was going to do today. So maybe not more. Up here at the top of the screen, we can deal with counters. Let's start a counter. $. Sure, found equals 0. $, not found equals 0. You can create counters in code if you want some type of progress or total. And to create a counter, first you zero them out. Next, we got to start counting. Right here, instead of writing found out to the screen, how about let's wait on that and do found, and we did to increment it by 1. So don't type this, but that would require the possibility of like found equals found plus 1, except every coding language I know realizes that that's something that coders want is a counter. How many times have you done a loop? So they shorthanded that and did plus plus, which auto creates the rest of that code for you. And it increments it. So that's cool. Don't have to do and think about math. I just have to do plus plus and realize that's what it's going to do.
Not found in the else statement, like above the for each statement.
So down here in the else statement, I could also do the not found plus plus. Now here's the trick. I don't want that. I mean, I might want to count to see like $. I may want to see a progress when things are having to be created. And then at the very end, I might want to see the right host. I can use double quotes because I'm going to use a variable inside. Right host. Existing accounts, $, found. Right host. New accounts added. Not found. I think it was all lowercase. Right host. New total, and then I could do $, found plus $, not found. That should add those together. Since Keaton wanted all this info. So I've done this outside the loop. Inside the loop right here, it's going to just start going 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to the top. After the script is completed, these counters will have a total value. So after the loop, because I don't want to see this printed to the screen 1,000 times and watch it count up. I just want to see the ending total. So at the very end, we're going to get a total. It's going to show us what the counter found had in it, how many was not found, and then it's going to add the two together to show the combination of the two. What's the new Active Directory count? So we should end up with 105 roughly accounts found, and they should be 0 and then the 105 for the total. So go ahead and hit F5 and see what we get. I got a bunch of zeros because we've already run this and all the accounts are found. So there was 0 non-found accounts. And my addition did not work. Yep. Now the addition works. If you want to see an interesting, highlight a few and delete them. I deleted 10, hit F5. I found 90 existing accounts. Compared to the CSV anyway. Added 10 accounts, total 100. So pretty cool.